You know, sometimes it only takes one man to bring about class consciousness, not only in the States, but all around the world. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this ridiculous show that we keep doing. Hi, Wumbo. Hi, Nico. Hi, Lumpy. What's going on, everybody?
Not much.
Vibing.
Now that was a better vibing than before.
Yeah, before the show, Wumbo, we asked Wumbo how they were doing, and we're like, Wumbo, what's up? And he's like, I'm vibing. Like you're fucking, like a dehydrated SpongeBob. But you know, I guess now that we're doing showbiz, but it's nice that you're on camera. That's cool.
Yeah.
Am I coming through okay?
You sound good.
All right, good, very good. So, of course, when I said the one man who can bring about class consciousness, I'm not talking about me, of course not, or any of us here. I'm talking about the Supreme Chad. Let me see if I could get their picture up here real quick. Wumbo, why don't you fill us in with what happened the last couple of days?
So, the CEO of United Healthcare, I believe, was walking from his hotel in New York City and was clapped by our hero. Yeah, and he kind of just disappeared.
Now, does our hero have a name or?
I don't know. To be
Hero.
honest, proletariat hero.
Exactly. Here we go. That's the Chad that I'm talking about. This is from a security camera, I believe, from Starbucks before the alleged attack. So yeah, basically, the CEO of United Healthcare, which is one of the largest health insurance companies in the country, I believe the guy's name is Brian Thomas, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So he was walking to work to an 8 a.m. meeting, and basically what happened was, as Wumbo so elegantly put, was in the TikTok language, unalived. They were clapped. They got the Tony Soprano ending by our proletariat hero here, who, as I first described it, used a weapon I would call as a Looney Tunes caliber, some kind of homemade blicky, as the youth would put it, and just took him out. And he's gone. He's finished, and it's sent waves not only through New York City, but through all of social media. Let's see. We got some comments going on here right before we go. Let's go. Acute lead poisoning is not under our covered conditions. It's not. Bro gave the CEO a lead parachute. I heard that's not an accurate picture. They don't have the same jacket or backpack. You know, yeah. So I've heard that. So there's some stuff. There's some what's the word I'm looking for? Part of the commotion is that the person actually changed their clothes or their backpack or whatever. So let me actually get the other picture up real quick. So this may also be our proletariat hero. Yeah. So United Healthcare is one of the largest healthcare insurance companies in the United States. And anybody who's in the United States, and for those who aren't in the United States, as we're all intimately familiar on the panel here, know that health insurance is a scam. It has no reason to exist. The only reason it exists is to extract wealth from people who require healthcare. That's such a supremacist system that insurance companies can override the decisions of healthcare practitioners who even, you know, in some circumstances want to do the best for patients. for the people who come through their doors. But insurance companies have the authority to authorize or deny life-saving treatment, life-saving tests that will provide diagnoses for people, surgeries, or right as the same day that this happened, I think it was Blue Cross Blue Shield had announced that they were not going to cover the cost of anesthesia if surgery ran longer than what they called I think it was a reasonable amount of time.
Yep.
What does that mean? Right. So like
Mhm.
I'm in the healthcare field, but I'm not a surgeon, so I'm making up numbers here. But if an appendectomy takes, let's say, 2 hours, right? But let's say there's some complication, there's extra bleeding or even an accident in surgery or whatever, somebody's blood pressure drops too low, and the surgery has to go on for another, let's say, 45 minutes to an hour, let's just say. The Blue Cross Blue Shield is saying that they will not pay for that extra time to use anesthetic drugs to keep a person sedated, which is not only required to keep somebody, for the lack of a better term, comfortable during surgery, but a lot of these surgeries, any surgery that's really done with, especially within the thoracic cavity, so from the the collarbone down to the lower abdomen, has to be done fully anesthetized in order to bring the blood pressure and the heart rate down to a certain point that someone wouldn't just bleed out essentially as soon as you open them. So now that cost will now no longer, because they reversed that decision after what we're going to talk about today. But that cost was going to go to the customer being the patient who needs surgery. So it's just an absolute insane mad lad move that our proletariat hero has done. But Lumpy and Nico, why don't you give us a little bit more insight about your experiences with the health insurance industry?
Do you want to go first, Nico? You want me to?
Sure, I can go first. I feel like maybe you might have a little bit more to expand on than I do, but I guess for me, being born with a disability, I have experienced a lot of situations where I have not gotten health care that I've needed, even when I was a child, because my mom knew that it wasn't going to be covered under insurance. Before the Affordable Health Care Act, most of my experience being at the time, a young 20-year-old with a full-time job was being told, I'm sorry, we won't cover you because you're already too high cost for us. Even today, I have insurance. Luckily, I saw all the charts recently about who denies more and stuff like that. I have one of the companies that denies the least amount of claims, but I still repeatedly get told that this surgery I need, called detethering surgery, is a what's the term? Basically, it's not necessary. It's an optional surgery, even though as I maintain a tether, my impairments continue to grow to the point that I'm going to lose potentially my ability to walk. But that's still, it's an optional. It's not necessary because I can still, function and work without that surgery. So pretty much been told it's got to be like $50,000 out of pocket, or I just got a deal.
Yeah, so that's you touched on a really good point there. Like when insurance companies are talking about somebody being at a functional level, what they're describing is the functional level to work, to produce, to do labor. And again, in this society that we live in, a capitalist society, we're not doing labor for ourselves. We're doing labor for the capitalists, producing things and profits for the capitalists. And our wealth is being and our labor is being stolen by said capitalists to feed the machine. It's all part of the same machinations that oppress people all over the world. So when you were saying that there's how it's optional, so like when it comes to insurance companies, chronic pain is not something that is like in the wheelhouse of treatment. I mean, it's barely something that's even considered within the if you even get rid of the insurance companies in American medicine, pain management is not something that is really overall considered in long-term or acute care situations, which is a whole other conversation we'll get into. But yeah, like this surgery you're describing is essentially optional, because even if you are in debilitating pain, well, if you can, just get your ass to work, which you're going to do it anyway because you have to eat, then it's fine. That doesn't matter. They don't have to take the time in order to improve your quality of life.
Mhm.
It's
not-
it's really. Go ahead.
Just want to mention that, with it being tied to work too, you're in so much pain. If you have to like stop working, you lose your insurance, and then it takes, either you're paying in, you have to pay straight out of your pocket, but you might not be able to get insurance for like months,
Mhm.
years,
Mhm.
even, between me going disabled, I was 2.5 years, because Mass Health kept throwing me off. Anytime I had an appointment, they just threw me off. And then I'd show up and they're like, "Oh, we want $300 for this appointment." And I'd be like, "I'm not paying that."
Yeah, it's pretty sickening. I knew somebody who they had a fever because they had a UTI. They went to the ER, and I think they had like not the most expensive bill you would hear in these kind of stories, but still not a small amount of money, about $1,600. And I think they were like 17, and they were like, I don't know what to do. like this is an insane amount of money, and they just never paid it. Because what else? What are you left with? I mean, most Americans don't even have $1,000 in the bank at any given point. So, a $1,600 bill is just, it's just ludicrous. You have any experience with the healthcare with the insurance system, especially given your background? I don't know if you want me to say it yet.
I did work with Aflac for like a year, and a lot of the people I sat down with that wanted cancer like coverage. Some of them couldn't get it because it was pre-existing, and like it was in like a pretty high stage to the point where they didn't, really have enough time left anyway. So like that's one of the reasons why I also kind of got out of it. That and like I remember I went to this like what is it, a mechanic shop. I sat down with a guy and his previous representative, I guess like transferred to like another state or whatever, or like another district. But like he had been hitting him up like constantly asking for like cancer coverage, and he never like responded to him. But then like a week later, he got diagnosed with cancer, and so at that point, he wouldn't even be able to get it anyway because it was pre-existing. So it's
yeah.
really
So
industry.
that's another thing for those who aren't in the know, especially those not in the States. So insurance companies cannot give you coverage if you have what's called a pre-existing condition. So like if I okay, so let's say I develop a melanoma, right, skin cancer, and I get it treated, we're Gucci, we're fine, right? I go into remission. A couple years go by, I get a resurgence, the cancer's back, but at the same time I just happen to like switch jobs. Now I can have a new cancer diagnosis that can easily prevent me from getting new insurance because I'm going to be considered too much of a liability, because the insurance company isn't going to want to take me on because they know they're going to have to pay out if they do cover me. So it's a nothing bird situation. Like there's no way that you can win. I made a comment just a couple minutes ago about people having less than $1,000, and I'm seeing here in the comments now. I'm gonna put you all on blast, but we got Backo here saying they got charged $250 for wrist brace. Insurance covered $15. Hey man, listen, $15 is a lot of money. For taking a poll, I don't have 1,000. I probably have $180 until next paycheck. Yep.
Me too.
That's you, Nico. Black Might, I'm also extremely broke. Don't even have $50. If I go to the doctor visit itself is just $50. Yep. So that my PCP can prescribe ibuprofen.
Mhm.
Capitalism is a pre-existing condition. Hello, Emily. And I agree. You know what, Emily? I should have just asked you to come up because this would have been
Yeah.
a good nurse to nurse conversation. If you want to come up, hey, listen, I'll send you the link. Just let me know. But but yeah, so it's horrendous. So like what I've seen, interestingly enough, I don't work for this company, but I've seen hospital systems where they kind of hide people who don't have insurance, especially immigrants, and they put them into places where the authorities won't really find them, and they kind of like foot the bill pro bono. But this isn't, don't get me wrong, this isn't like a pro immigrant or like pro like or corporation stance. What happens is a lot of these companies, a lot of these large hospital systems will use this charity in order to petition the state, in order to get the state to pay for more funding, more grants, millions of dollars, new facilities, bigger salaries for CEOs and executives and stuff. So like corporations also take advantage, or other corporations take advantage of the with the broken healthcare system of the United States, and also take advantage of the fact that some people don't have insurance or even speak the language and use them as political pawns. So it's this whole amalgamation of just fuckery that happens in order to take advantage of people. But yeah, what were you gonna say, Lumpy?
I don't know. Do you guys want to hear about me?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, well, I want to add two things to real life thing of what Wombo and you were talking about. I was denied Aflac back when I was working at a company as a second insurance because of asthma. So I was denied having extra coverage, but my sister was diabetic and she was a PT, and the shop she worked for, she worked under one guy, and they ended up having to to get her insurance, everyone had to pay extra. So like he tried to cover as much as he could, and then like everyone had like a more expensive insurance, and she felt horrible about it, but everyone, I mean, it was a small, it's a PT place, so they all agreed to do it so that she could be covered. And then yeah, I mean, it all that just happens. So I live in Massachusetts. So I would have had what we have now, basically, more or less. It was Romney Care, starting in 2006. I don't know, 2003. I don't know, somewhere around there. I can't even remember now. But for the longest time, so I had Lyme disease about then is when I got diagnosed with Lyme disease, which is one thing. But that brought out what I have is chronic illness. It's progressive. It's rare. It's a disorder. So it's a million different things going on in me. But in 2010, well, it was after 2010 because it would have been 2011 when I was filing my taxes. My friend was like, why don't you, like, you're just taking the benefit. Like you're not itemizing. You need to itemize everything. So no, I think he told me in 2010. So then I made sure that I kept everything, all the receipts of, I had to go into Boston twice a week. I had it I mean, like even just the mileage, everything. And it added up. And that 1 year I claimed like 21,000 something on out of pocket. I only freaking made 55 grand a year. I only probably brought home like 30 something thousand, and I was paying 21,000 out of my pocket.
Right.
And then the next year came, and that was even more. That was close to 30,000 the next year. This was all diagnosis stuff, and I had the best insurance through my corporation. I had to open my 401ks. I lost everything. You know, I call myself a victim of the private healthcare industry insurance because they took everything from me. I wish I didn't pay the bills because when I went disabled, then I could have just not paid them. But
Right.
like it was, I mean, in 3 years I paid out $75,000 out of pocket. Like
Jeez.
it's just, it's nuts to think of. And
Mhm.
and you know, like this is all on top of you're worrying about money in this while you're sick. You know, I mean, Nico knows. Like, you, stress is like the worst thing when you're chronically ill. Like, it's the
Oh
worst
yeah.
thing. So, I mean, them having to do that, like having all this monetary stress on you is it's good, just making people sicker. It's making all these people sicker. And you know, just pulling. I couldn't find new numbers, but I did see, you know, KFF, whatever they are, but they did put out a couple of new numbers on. So it's like it's still about they're still claiming about 45 to 68,000 people die a year because of not having health insurance and not having treatable stuff, you know, and they're saying right now that 6% of the population's in medical debt. That's like 14 million people are in medical debt.
Mhm.
And 1% of the population has a medical debt of over $10,000. And so the last number I knew when I say that I went bankrupt, but of course I didn't go bankrupt, but I had no money to like go to the courts and say I'm bankrupt. But like I lost everything. And that is it's about probably almost 500,000 people a year lose everything to medical debt
Yeah.
in the United States. So just wanted to bring up, you know, I love how too, like, oh, you're reading like some of these articles. The cops have haven't thought of a motive yet.
Well, right, because the police are not going to want to admit, you know, that the guy got clapped for the reason why he got clapped. But I'm gonna pull up the article here real quick. I just gotta make sure I do this correctly. Give me 2 seconds. Boom, there we go.
While you're doing that, I'll do. So 32% was the denial rate for UHC. UHC was using an AI model
Yeah.
for their denials, which was a 90% error rate in that denials. And the last Facebook post of Brian Thompson was talking about lowering prescription rates, which, you know what? You're an insurance company. You're worried about the prescription prices because that's coming out of your pocket. You're not doing it for any of your patients. So I don't know why you're getting all happy with that.
Right. So we have here manhunt underway for United Healthcare CEO Pew Pewer as police track down evidence. I'm gonna go back up, but let's read from here. New details are emerging in the case of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson's death as a manhunt for the person of interest involved in a fatal pewing is on the third day. Authorities do not yet have a name for the suspect at the time, according to NYPD Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenny. Also, shout out New York City for just nobody seeing nothing. And I guess hold up, let me back up because let me paint the picture a little bit for people who don't know. The guy was, if you saw the picture earlier, basically dressed in all black, was on an e-bike, got off the bike, knew what door Brian Thompson was going to walk out of, made contact, left, went into Central Park and disappeared with no trace or whatever. I did see some murmurs of them finding a backpack. I'm not sure any more details about that though. But anyway, smiling photo showing a man police consider a suspect may have provided a significant clue as he lowered his mask during a flirtatious moment with a New York hostel clerk. CNN's chief law enforcement analyst reported Thursday investigators have also found a backpack in Central Park that they believe belonged to the suspect. Here's what we know so far. Ongoing manhunt. Investigators have a reason to believe the person of interest in Thompson's killing has left New York City, according to Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch. The suspect gunman traveled by Greyhound bus to New York before the shooting. A source said authorities also said the suspect used a fake New Jersey license to check into an Upper West Side hostel. The hostel has since posted a notice to other guests saying that it's cooperating with the police. The Atlanta Police Department confirmed Friday that it is working with NYPD as part of the investigation. The FBI is also assisting New York law enforcement, a bureau spokesperson told CNN. The money shot. Officials had to sift through a substantial amount of video surveillance footage to obtain images of the suspected gunman. Pictures Tisch called the money shot during a Friday interview with CNN Scheinman. I'm not even going to try to say that name. She said police released the photos because they want a wider audience to see the picture outside of New York City. The image has been sent to every member of the NYPD, a law enforcement official told CNN. DNA evidence. Detectives have recovered possible DNA evidence from items found at the scene and have now turned it over for lab testing. They basically don't have anything. And Nico pointed out to me that basically the Daily Mail has been posting, you can see it right now on TikTok. If you go on the Daily Mail's TikTok, they're like posting like videos of like police just like staring at the ground with the Law and Order music playing in the background. Like it's stupid. I'll try to find it real quick. Authorities are investigating whether a specialized weapon was used in the United Healthcare shooting. Investigators are looking into the possibility the gunman who killed Brian Thompson may have used what is known as a veterinary gun, a larger firearm used on farms and ranches. Joseph Kenny, New York Police Department chief of detective, told the New York Times. Now, also, this man, this absolute mad lad, Chad, etched onto the bullet casings the words, was it deny, dispose, and what?
Defend.
Yeah.
And now, Nico, where's that from? Because I've heard a few different stories. But where's that from? Where did this poetry come from?
From what I know, it's generally like a play on like basically lawsuits with insurance companies. Like they go deny the claim, defend the position, dispose of, I forget what the term is.
The patient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So like, I mean, premeditated being like, just like, how do you call it? I lost my train of thought, but basically like this guy knew what he was doing. He was out for blood, rightfully so. So there's a lot of like curiosity as to like who this guy was. Was he someone who was denied coverage? Was he somebody who knew somebody, a spouse of some sorts? Was it somebody who they themselves, had, lost coverage or something? Or is he just an absolute Chad who subscribes to Collective? I don't know. And we're probably never gonna know. And this, what's got me curious is I'm wondering, like, is this person like seeing the social media like uproar and just like feeling good about themselves? At the same time, I'm like, this dude definitely just like disappeared, is not on the internet, is probably like not even thinking about like how much of like a wave that they've caused. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm a little amazed at like how well thought out, how well they did this. So like you do get angry. So this I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like this guy probably had planned this for years. So like you're saying, he's probably not on social media. He took his time to plan this.
Mm-hmm.
So he either scrubbed himself off of social media, or I don't know, because there's no way he woke up one day and it all happened so perfect, that they have like no clues and everything. So
yeah. I wonder who is the other unnamed Chad who like gave him the intel, right? Because like he knew exactly where he was going to come out of, unless he had been watching him for like some, undisclosed amount of time. You know what I mean?
It was a big investor meeting, so he if he could have known, like, they probably use, I'm sure United Healthcare uses a certain hotel in the area, like, all the time, because I traveled for corporations before, and it was always you use certain hotels because they'd get their deals there. I mean, yeah, I mean, he just probably knew that there was this meeting going on, this investor meeting, so someone had to have told him.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, there's no way it was just a one guy gig, as much as we were trying to great man this guy, for the meme. But let's talk about the actual like social media uproar, right? Like, of course, there's a lot of memes going on, which we can get into at the end for fun. But there's also a lot of, I think, misunderstanding, and I think at the same time false hope, right? And of course, I've been memeing on it, talking about the proletariat hero, right? What Buddy did was for sure adventurism. Like, don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? Like, the action that took place, while pretty chill, doesn't necessarily at all stop the problem, right? Because when Brian was kaputz, for lack of a better term, the company stepped over his still warmed body and continued with their investor meeting. They don't care. They don't care about their CEOs. They don't care about their executives. These are people who quite literally throw each other under the bus. So for someone to hear the news that, oh, Brian's dead, is good news for somebody in that room, There's
Who's the new CEO?
Yeah, there's a video game called Cruelty Squad, and for those who don't know, it's basically a fever dream acid trip, like over satire of like capitalism and like dystopia and like nightmare, where like corporations rule the world, which I mean they do, but like way more in your face about it. That subreddit, their top post is the actual news article of the CEO being killed, because in that game stuff like that happens left and right. CEOs, executives like are like sending goon squads out to kill each other, like, which is gonna happen more. But the point I'm making here is like, this is just a byproduct of the contradictions of capitalism, of people being pushed to the brink. However, the actions that took place don't necessarily, or I wouldn't even say necessarily, they don't constitute particularly revolutionary action, because while it may be really inspiring for some people, it may also be inspiring in the incorrect ways. Meaning, well, I'll put this as an example. A lot of the memes that have been coming out are like, by the way, these CEOs, this is their names, and they live here, and da-da-da. And like, again, that's chill. However, those people will be replaced, and those replacements will be replaced. And as long as the capitalism still exists, as long as the machinations of oppression exist in order to perpetuate imperialism around the world, in order to resource extract, you are not going to stop it. What stops it is revolutionary organizing and action, and collective action. Let's put it that way. You cannot just be a one-man show or operation. You have to not only commit action, but seize the means. Because if you don't seize the means, they'll just replace them. They'll just keep replacing them.
Yeah. I want to mention that their stocks went up. So like, the United Healthcare stock went up. So I mean, it may have been a win, like, oh yeah, Blue Cross, like Anthem, like reverse the anesthesia thing, which By the way, your governor in New York, Hochul, is claiming that she's the one that got that done. But I don't know. I'm thinking another little incident this week got it done. But
What?
but yeah, I mean, there, like, you're right. I mean, it doesn't, like, doing. Yeah, I been smiling about this? Have I been like, yeah, because somewhat personal, you know what I mean? Like, but no, it doesn't help in the long run. And that was one of the things, like, Poke Free a couple of weeks ago, because I've been working on labor history, is like, are we heading for another Gilded Age? And then I sent him a message the other night. I go, oh, CEOs dying? Yeah, we're going into a Gilded Age, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I saw a really great point about how quickly all these health insurance companies are changing their policies and like how they operate, but also like how if enough like of these healthcare like lobbyists and CEOs get harmed, how the actual passage of like gun legislation could go through, because it's the people the government actually care about. It's the people who line their pockets.
I mean, it goes back to, like, gun control got really popular at first when the Black Panthers were open carrying, in California. And when they were threatening to, get into shootouts and did, with police, that were like, okay, we can't just let people have, whatever guns that they want. Yeah, exactly. Especially in a place like New York City that already has stringent, and I would quite frankly say abhorrent gun laws, where it's almost virtually impossible to have a gun on your person in New York City. Which, like, I know a lot of people, they're responsible, be like, well, just do it anyway. But, this is YouTube and I have to advocate for illegal things. It still is infringement on the rights of the workers, yeah, so 100%, it can make it a lot more difficult for people who would need access to those things in order to prepare for collective action. You can't really train with Nerf guns. Just saying. Yeah, so on the other hand, though, like, kind of just like touching on sort of the right wing, like, people are saying, like, I didn't watch the full video, but I was scrolling and I saw this video where this one person was saying, like, we're so close to class consciousness. And I'm like, no, we're absolutely not so close to class consciousness. I get that it's exciting to see what, people on the left and the right, being excited that this goober got clapped. However, let's review what happens when capitalism is falling apart. You get people on the left and the right, workers, who are both responding to the worsening conditions, who both have an intrinsic understanding of the exploitation and the oppression they're going through. The difference is, who are they blaming? One side, our side, has the correct analysis that it is the capitalists, it is the white supremacists, it is imperialism. Then you have the opposite side, which leads into fascism, who believe, it's this religious minority, or it's this racial group, or it's the Rothschilds, or it's the Illuminati, or something obscene like that, or it's just the CEOs. So when you're seeing these, right wingers, or, let's say center right people reacting this way, it's important that you understand that if somebody is kind of like on the political fence, or isn't really political, but they are, like, enjoying the drama, you as a communist, it's important that you engage with that person and be like, yeah, but it goes deeper than just the CEO. It's capitalism, it's white supremacy, it's imperialism, as opposed to just, kind of letting them follow that thought to its own conclusion on their own, because you start to get into really dangerous territory where it's like, well, who owns all these companies? Oh, it's Jewish people, it's, this group of people. It's these group of people. It's this big conspiracy. Well, it's not a conspiracy. It's just capitalism.
Mhm.
So we want to be careful and try to mitigate those reactionary tendencies that I'm seeing online, where people are just it's dangerous. It's a dangerous situation. I also want to touch on, unfortunately, I have a new top video on on TikTok. The stupidest video I probably ever made, where there's a guy on TikTok, influencer Pearl Mania, who was exposed for the other TikTok influencers, like Under the Desk News and whatever, who get paid, from the Democrats to push Democrat propaganda, right? So this guy, he made a video. His whole thing is he yells at the camera. And he was yelling about how, like, this guy, Brian Thompson got killed, yeah. And it's like, hold up though, because you are somebody who gets or was getting paid to spin a narrative that benefits the capitalist class. Now you're touching on something that is beneficial to the working class, but without that follow through of intrinsic Marxist analysis, you are, intentionally or not, perpetuating the sort of right-wing rabbit hole of, well, what's really the problem? Oh, it's this sneaky group of people, insert X group of people here. It's not capitalism, it's crony capitalism. But I think I've been yapping for a bit. What do you think, Wumbo?
No, I mean, I agree. Especially like people on the right aren't necessarily, they're going to blame crony capitalism before they actually blame capitalism as a system. Which it's very cringe, because like at this point I don't see how you just open your eyes and see that it's capitalism that's destroying not just the working class, but also like our planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's I just sometimes wish you could grab people and shake them. Nico and Limpy, give me your thoughts while I'll be right back.
You go, Nico.
No, I was gonna say, just from talking to people in IRL, as you could say, I do feel like, even though, of course, this was adventurism, it's of course it's not enough. It's one of the first times I've been able to blatantly talk to people about the violence of our system. It is one of the first situations I've ever been in, like talk about the submarine last year. There were still people who were just like, oh, just think about them. They weren't harming us, even though they were. Yeah. It's more of a situation where almost everyone on the side is just like, why should we care about this person who was violent against thousands of people in a very real way? And it's one of the first times even people who I know aren't like politically like active and aware, I've heard them say that without me having to like kind of lead them to that. And that gives me the opportunity to kind of push like, well, what makes that, violence? Can we talk about the system? And I think it is in a weird way, like a good thing in that sense, to be able to see people kind of recognize that.
Yeah, I think for me too, it was so being, I was like a healthcare, a chronic illness advocate, like for healthcare, helping them get on disability and stuff like that. I worked that stuff in, even just like 10 years ago or 8 years ago during the 2016 election, I don't think the sentiment would have been as much as it is now. I was actually shocked at the percentage of people that were like, yeah, that was good. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, okay, we're all right with it. You know what I mean? As opposed to other times when people have died, like the submarine and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you still have the people online being like, he was a person and he had a family, and yeah, all the people that he denied were people and had families too, so
that's exactly what I said.
Yeah,
because I had this conversation with someone the other day and I was like, Yeah, I mean, you got to think about like all the people he put into debt that had families that they had to take care of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like these numbers and statistics, you have to remember, are not just numbers and statistics. They're human beings.
Mhm.
Some with families, some just single people. But each one of them, not to be too corny, but has a life, has a story, or had one. And for better, whether they were good people or bad people, it doesn't matter. We're denied coverage, and what happens when you deny coverage? People die. Like that's just what happens. There's no other way around it, and it's obscene. It's obscene. Like I saw quite recently somebody at who had brain surgery, and they had all these kinds of different sutures and stuff in their head, and as it became infected, basically a bunch of providers were bouncing this person around because this person doesn't have insurance, and nobody wanted to take care of the situation for free. So it also, besides just the corporations being, the health insurance corporations, being trash, it also kind of comes down to the individual person, like Brian Thompson, or like certain medical providers, doctors who are like, well, I don't know, I don't really want to do this for free, take up my Saturday. Like, I could just go play golf, like like it's disgusting. I think healthcare is one of the best ways and avenues to have conversations with people, to try to get them to sort of see, the, like Nico was saying, the violence of the system. I mean, going back to the days of the 2014, like why did Bernie Sanders get stomped out by the DNC? Because Bernie Sanders was, I don't know if they still are, was a proponent of universal health care. And that by itself is such a money grab for the military industrial complex, for the capitalist industrial complex. You just can't do that. It also adversely affects the military recruitment, because a lot of people join the military to get some kind of benefits. So if you remove that from people's from the rat race, recruitment will already be so much lower than it already is now.
Yeah.
Let's look at some comments here real quick. Pearl doesn't give a fuck about the proletariat. He just wants his neoliberal back. Correct. People need to realize liberal grifters are real too. Correct. Not Anthem overturning your decision based and casually trying to pretend it's not because of United. Yeah. I worked as a housing manager during 2020, and we had dozens of clients who were on United who had denied coverage, which resulted in vulnerability to COVID. Dozens died. Yep. I think he even bragged about it too. I was also a caseworker, assisting families, coaching them, and navigating resources for their loved ones with dementia. Straight up had all insurance companies denying palliative hospice care. Oh, yeah. 100%. It's just, it's disgusting. But we're getting close to an hour here. Ladies and germs and days and dems. What do you think's gonna happen? You think it's gonna be copycats? You think, like Lumpy was saying, like, is this just the soft launch to the Gilded Age of things getting worse? What do you think?
You already said
gang. I can't take a sip for that long, and you guys are just like.
No, I mean, I think that we're going to see. I mean, we have seen, they just haven't talked about it. We're going to see more acts. Yeah. I think people are getting more desperate in the United States. I mean, I can tell you over the years, even like 20 years ago, like you could almost not have insurance and be able to afford some stuff. You know what I mean? Like if you were just a pretty healthy person, and now it's like, I mean, even for you to go to the doctor, like $60 to go see your regular doctor is a lot of money. You shouldn't have to pay 60 because literally you're in there for 10. Well, they have you waiting for an hour and a half, but you're in with the doctor for 10 minutes, like, and you're paying $60 for 10 minutes.
Just for the doctor to tell you, yeah, I guess you're sick. Maybe you should go home.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or even better, tell you they don't know what it is. You probably just need to lose some weight and stop being anxious.
Yeah, exactly. Have you tried relaxing sweaty? Like it's just gross. Wumbo, you got to shut out.
No, appreciate it.
He was gonna wear. Oh, now we're not gonna say it right. Baklava. Baklava.
Baklava, yeah.
Baklava.
Well, I think we kind of did the thing.
Yeah.
But gang, yeah. So I guess kind of to round it out, things will get worse as they always are. We'll be here yapping, yapping.
Oh, keep yapping. Just yapping. We can't even hear you, Ivan.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
can't.
That's okay. I'm just gonna keep yapping.
Just yap. Keep yapping.
That's fine. I'll just keep yapping. Goodbye, gang. That's basically what I was trying to say.
Bye.
Bye.
Night, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.